901. Go home. The result can be imagined. Naruto went to participate in the S-level assessment. As an examiner, Biska thought that it would never be dangerous, but a series of events later broke her thoughts. After learning the news that Naruto and his party were all wiped out, Biska was heartbroken for a while, but after everyone's investigation, no other clues were found on the sea area of Sirius Island, not even the body. This gave her and everyone a glimmer of hope. And Biska, day and night, prayed that Naruto would return safely, and she also believed that Naruto would return safely. To this end, she moved to Naruto's residence, determined to wait here for Naruto to come back. Unexpectedly, after waiting countless days and nights for 7 years, on this day, Naruto finally came back. How could this not make her ecstatic? After a while, Naruto entered the room and explained to her where he was. Of course, he didn't say that he went to the virtual circle, but went to a strange space to practice. He didn't appear until 7 years later, and also explained the whereabouts of others. It is said that those people are also in that dimension, but for some reason they cannot appear, and it will take a few more days. Because in a few days, Naruto is absolutely confident that he can find Urza and the others and bring everyone back. After Biska heard all this, she only felt like a dream, because it all happened so suddenly and brought people a great surprise. She even had a dazed feeling in her mind now. Seeing Biska's surprised look, Naruto laughed and said, "Thank you so much. I thought the house should be in dire straits. It looks like you've lived here all these years." "Ah, yes, I'm sorry, I just moved in without your permission." Biska heard the words, and suddenly apologized with a yuhi face. "It's alright, it's good to have you here. I originally planned to find another place to live if I wasn't home by myself after returning here. Thanks to you, I'll save the trouble." Ming the man smiled and waved his hand. "However, Biska, how did you move here?" "Ah, this is because of that." When Biska heard this, she couldn't help stammering and speechless. Her jade face turned into yuhi, and she panicked. Naruto was stunned for a moment, not knowing what she was going to say, a little doubt in his heart. However, Halentia, who was on the side, suddenly woke up, and when she saw Biska's flustered face, she guessed something in her heart. She couldn't help but glared at Naruto, seeing that he still didn't know anything, and sighed helplessly. In fact, it's no wonder Naruto, after all, he and Biska didn't have any in-depth contact before, so he couldn't understand her mind. Of course, he would not have thought that a girl who inexplicably worshipped him would wait so infatuated. 7 years myself. Oh, by the way, Naruto, let's introduce the lady beside you. Biska was shy for a while, and in order to ease her embarrassment, she quickly changed the subject and looked at Halentia. "Hello, Miss Biska, my name is Halentia, I'm a water magician and I come from a small island in the sea." Before Naruto's introduction, Halentia took the lead in extending her jade hand, and she was with Bisilka shook it. "Miss Halentia, hello," Biska greeted with a smile. "Ah, by the way, Biska, when you moved here, did anyone else live here?" Naruto asked suddenly, as if thinking of something. Anyone else? No. Biska was stunned. She recalled. "When I moved in, it had been a month since you disappeared, but Naruto, why are you still doing this?" "Ask." "Ah, nothing, just ask." Naruto hurriedly called haha, but he secretly said in his heart, "It seems that Angier must have left after knowing that she disappeared. Well, anyway, I don't want to play any more games with her anymore." Naruto sighed inexplicably. Suddenly, Biska pouted and said, "However, to say something strange, when I moved in, I found that there were some women's things in this room." As soon as Halentia heard it, she immediately shot her gaze and stared at Naruto. Naruto immediately felt an invisible pressure. He smirked and had nothing to say. Biska rolled his eyes at him. Of course, she knew that a man as good as Naruto would have no women in his life, so when she found out that there were other women in Naruto's family, she didn't get a big blow, but felt very sad. But it's no wonder that Naruto has such a good temperament and has a very good relationship with the girls in the guild. For a good man like him, it would be abnormal if he didn't have a woman. Therefore, although Bisca has jealousy in her heart, she has not diminished her love for Naruto. However, she really wanted to see how holy the woman who lived with Naruto was. Unfortunately, since she moved in, the girl who lived here has not appeared. And this has become a mystery, which has always been left in her heart. Of course, Naruto's comeback surprised her by surprise, and these little doubts have long been thrown away. Alright, Naruto, Miss Halentia, you must have not eaten yet. I just finished cooking, let's eat together. Bisca stood up and suddenly greeted the two of them to sit at the dining table next to her. She went into the kitchen and brought out the food. Naruto saw the delicious dishes, and his stomach suddenly growled. He didn't know how long he hadn't eaten. In the virtual circle, there was no food. As a spiritual body, even if he was hungry, he was already hungry. I'm not hungry anymore. The next moment, Naruto devoured the image regardless of his image. It's delicious, Bisca, I didn't expect your craftsmanship to be so good. He complimented her while eating. As soon as Bisca brought it out, she found that the table was already in a mess. Hylantia was speechless for a while. She and Bisca looked at each other, and an idea came to mind. Naruto is in this state, how long has it been since he had eaten? Looking at Naruto's maddening attitude, the two women felt a little distressed. In the past 7 years, what happened to Naruto? 902. Power. After a while, Naruto finally filled up the hunger that he hadn't eaten for a while. The two girls had not eaten yet, so they had to make some snacks to eat. After eating and drinking, Naruto lay on the sofa, feeling this room that he had not lived in for a long time, and his heart was full of emotion. Hylantia and Bisca were chatting in a low voice. Although they didn't know each other before, they quickly became acquainted. Seeing how the two of them were chatting happily, Naruto remembered what happened in the guild. After all, if so many elites in the guild had an accident, it would definitely have a great impact on the other members of the entire guild. He looked at Bisca and asked, Bisca, how is the guild now? Bisca, who was chatting with Hylantia, was stunned for a moment, then she sighed and said quietly, the guild has been so miserable in the past few years. Some of the others who stayed have left. Some of them still stay in the guild and stick to it, but now they can only survive. Quote. Naruto frowned. He had expected such a result in his heart. After all, most of the elites of a powerful guild had disappeared, and the rest of the people would definitely be suppressed from other guilds, right? Moreover, the departure of so many strong men is also doomed to the decline of a guild. Later, Bisca told Naruto about the guild. Since the guild leader Makarov left, only Mikao, a veteran of the guild, can hold great positions. However, his strength is not strong. After taking the position of guild leader, it is impossible to maintain the strength of the entire guild. Image. In the past 7 years, I have been constantly bullied and excluded by other guilds. Fairy Tail has no masters, and even the original site has been taken as a mortgage. Now I can only stay in a dilapidated tavern outside the city. Bully. Hearing this, Naruto frowned. The situation was really worse than expected. Naruto, just come back, the guild finally has hope again. Bisca smiled with tears in her eyes. Naruto reached out and held her shoulders, looked at her seriously, with a bright smile on his face. Bisca, you have worked so hard all these years. Those who stayed are all good. Now you guys you can rest easy. Because I'm back. I believe Fairy Tail will recover. Bisca nodded heavily and let out a long breath. However, please be patient for a few days. In these few days, I have to retreat and practice, and then go to find everyone. Let everyone come out from that place, then everything will be different. Naruto said again. Bisca nodded, and finally had a reassuring smile on her face. In the days that followed, Hylantia and Bisca lived in Naruto's house. Originally, because Naruto came back, Bisca should move out immediately, and went to tell everyone the good news, but Naruto let her live here first, and tell Mikao and them after everyone returns, and give them a surprise. Biska obeyed Naruto's advice and stayed happily. 3 days later, in a forest not far from Naruto's house. Naruto sat cross-legged on the ground, the magic power surging all over his body, and waves of powerful oppression spread, but the strange thing is that only the place within 10 meters around his body is like a storm, and the outside world appears calm. At this moment, Hylantia and Biska came over with a prepared lunch. It's been 3 days, and Naruto's aura has become so strong. Biska exclaimed. Hylantia smiled slightly. He is suppressing his own power now, and he has not fully released it yet. I think the magic in his body is undergoing some kind of qualitative change. When it erupts, no one dares to imagine it. Really? Biska also smiled happily, as expected of Naruto. Her eyes flashed with admiration and obsession. Hylantia glanced at her and smiled secretly. Suddenly, the magic power on Naruto's body returned to calm. He slowly stood up, opened his eyes, and a dazzling light flashed in his eyes. Call. He let out a long sigh of relief. The next moment, his figure slowly rose without any warning, and gradually escaped the sight of Biska and Hylantia. Flying, Biska said in surprise. Hylantia looked at Naruto, who was gradually flying into the sky, and nodded. It seems that Naruto's power has reached a level that even I can't understand. The two girls were extremely surprised. However, without the help of the wings of the wind, Naruto rose directly into the air and came to the top of the clouds. He looked at his hands and only felt that the power in his body was extremely full, and the power in his body was no longer ordinary magic power, but a source power that was more primitive than magic power. It can be said that this power is the source of the magic of this world. That is, the chaotic power he has been pursuing before. Can use time and space ninjutsu, can use all the power of magic. Boom boom boom. On the ground, Hylantia and Biska were looking at the sky. Suddenly, there were strong power fluctuations in the clouds, and the entire clouds were scattered, revealing a figure that kept flashing. And that momentum directly made Biska suffocate her breath. What kind of power is this? Biska exclaimed. Hylantia was also shocked. Immediately after the clouds were dispersed, the sky recondensed into pieces of dark clouds. In an instant, the clouds covered with lightning and thunder. Naruto's entire body was shuttled in thunder and lightning, and his figure was still flashing, as if he was using his fists. However, the entire Magnolia City around here is shrouded in clouds. What's the matter? Why is it getting dark all of a sudden? Pedestrians on the street raised their heads, looking at the sky at a loss. In the Fairy Tale Guild, Mikao and the others were suddenly shocked. What's with this power? So strong, who is that? The weather has changed. Look, there seems to be a figure in the sky. Then, who is that? To fly so high. Quick, take a look at the binoculars. Not only the Fairy Tale Guild, but the changes caused by Naruto also caused 1,000 waves in other guilds in Magnolia City. 903. Reunion. It's terrifying. If it goes on like this, the sky will collapse. Biska murmured, looking at the godlike Naruto in the sky. His power is much stronger than before. Hylantia couldn't help but sigh deeply. At this moment, Naruto in the sky suddenly stopped, the surrounding wind gradually subsided, and the dark clouds in the sky gradually dissipated. A dark shadow suddenly flashed past and landed at the feet of Biska and Hylantia with a slamming sound. What is this? Biska and the two were taken aback for a moment, seeing a wooden hidden weapon in front of them, with puzzled expressions on their faces. The next moment, with a swoosh, a golden light flashed, and Naruto had already appeared in front of them. Haha, the power is finally perfect as a master. Naruto laughed as he looked at the stunned two. Naruto, how did you appear? So fast, Biska exclaimed. Hey, this is my newly researched magic, teleportation. Naruto explained again with a smile. It sounds amazing. Naruto, How strong are you now? Okay, about my power, you will see it slowly next time. The top priority now is to go to the guild, take everyone to Sirius Island, and bring everyone back. With Biskin's adoring gaze, Naruto waved his hand and said, "Yeah, good." Biska was excited again. Naruto looked so confident, really handsome. If it was him, what he said would definitely come true. "Everyone, are you really coming back?" After 3 days and 3 nights of practice, Naruto finally absorbed enough magic elements, and used powerful spiritual power to fuse all the magic elements in his body together, comprehending its mystery. He found that after the power of the soul reached this level, he had a special understanding of the power of this world. During these 3 days and 3 nights, he realized the fundamental way of magic, and integrated it to restore it. For the original power. The power of the source. The nature of this power contains all kinds of things in this world. It is no longer a problem to use all kinds of magic. Moreover, the biggest advantage is to be able to use space art. It can be said that in this world, Naruto has now reached an invincible state. However, Naruto now understands that his space technique is far from being able to travel through time and space. If he wants to activate such a technique, he must use all his own strength and various research and practice to achieve it. And now, Naruto can't guarantee that he will be able to return to the world of death again. Of course, at least he has a preliminary idea. I believe that if he tries, he will be able to succeed. The city of Magnolia is very prosperous. But on the outskirts far from the city, there is a tavern, run down and cramped. This is where Fairy Tail is. Biska led Naruto and Helentus to the gate of the guild. Our guild has now moved to this tavern. Biska introduced to Naruto. She said excitedly, "Everyone is very difficult now, but you will be very excited after seeing you, right?" Naruto smiled lightly, and he was full of sighs when he saw that Fairy Tail was still living here. "When you come back, everything will change. Bishka, let's go in." After Naruto finished speaking, he stepped inside. What leads the eye is a narrow and bleak scene. There were only a few people in the hall. Mikao and his friend are arguing about something. "You're a leader with no appeal at all." Okabe called towards him. "What did you say?" "No matter what, I'm also the 4th generation president of Fairy Tail." Mikao retorted. On the side, Mac's side, there are fewer and fewer people in the guild. It's really impossible to live like this. There are only a few task sheets posted on the taskbar, and a person next to him said helplessly, "There are no good tasks on it." "Really, the taskbar has nothing to do with you anyway. You can't take tasks." Seeing everyone groaning and sighing, Biska, who was standing at the door, couldn't stand it any longer. She cleared her throat and shouted, "You guys are still a little bit energetic. Take a good look at who's here." When everyone heard Biska's voice, they all looked towards the door. With just one glance, everyone was frozen in place like a lightning strike. "Naruto, Naruto, Naruto!" Mikao cried out in disbelief. Everyone else also opened their mouths wide, looking surprised. "Everyone, long time no see." Naruto took a few steps forward and waved to them. Then, he looked around and sighed. "There are really a lot fewer people in the guild, there are only so few." Mikao, Okabe, Max, Jet, Doroi, Litas, Nabu, Vorian, Vegeta, Reiki. Naruto knew all of these few people, and apart from that, the entire guild had no one else at this time. It's really depressing. At this time, Mikao stepped forward in disbelief and asked, "Excuse me, are you really Uzumaki Naruto? The strongest wizard from Fairy Tail? Someone with the title of Holy Ten?" Naruto looked at him and smiled slightly. "Mikao, you are getting old." With just one sentence, Mikao hugged Naruto's shoulder tightly with a wow. "Naruto, you're finally back," he shouted with tears in his eyes. The surrounding people also rushed over, wanting to go forward and hug Naruto. For a time, Naruto was surrounded by everyone, and when they met again, he did not expect to be treated so warmly by everyone. Huh, Naruto was suddenly stunned. There was actually a girl hugging him. He looked down and saw a girl with long purple hair and big round glasses. Well, it's actually Rocky. Naruto was a little stunned. In his impression, this girl seemed to be very narcissistic towards him. It's really rare. When Fairy Tail lost so much, he didn't leave. Okay, everyone, it's very good. The next moment, Naruto gently pushed everyone away, looked at everyone and nodded. In the 7 years since we left, I have received all your thoughts on Fairy Tail. Quote. 904, Debt Collection. Yo, it looks like something good happened to you. Just when everyone was excited, a very inappropriate cry came from the door. Then, only to hear a few muffled sounds, a group of people squeezed into the hall of the tavern. The leader was a man with a wolf kiba stick behind him, his hands in his pockets, his face arrogant. It's such a laid-back guild, it's already broken down like this, why are you excited? Hey, look at this handsome blonde guy, is he a new guy? Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that someone would be willing to join such a weak guild. A group of people rushed in, and their mouths were full of cynicism. The gathering of Naruto and everyone was temporarily interrupted, and he frowned and looked at the group of people. Tebo, didn't I tell you not to come here again? Mikao exclaimed angrily. Hey, you actually speak to us in such a tone. We are the Mages Guild representing Magnolia, the Ghosts of Dusk. The leading man named Tebo exclaimed with a grin. Really, we don't care if you are the strongest guild ever. Your era is over. They continued to laugh arrogantly. Mikao said angrily, what are you doing here? Naruto is also a little puzzled, these guys are really unpleasant to look at. Haha, when will the money for this month be returned? Tebo suddenly sneered. Mikao was stunned. Okaba broke into a cold sweat and said, what? Mikao, haven't you paid it off yet? Mikao was also in a cold sweat. Tebo smiled and said, it's past the debt repayment date. Can we pay it back together next month? Mikao stared at them while holding back the humiliation in his heart. These Twilight Ghost guys, because their guild encountered trouble before, asked them to do a favor, but they did not expect them to take the opportunity to loan usury to their guild. Humiliate everyone. However, because they owed money, everyone could only endure each other's ridicule, scolding, and even beatings. Huh, what did you say? Tebo came to Mikao, squinting and staring at him with a dangerous aura. And Max and the others all looked at their arrogance in their own guild's territory with angry faces, but they were helpless. Naruto's brows furrowed deeper. He looked at Bisca next to him. Are these guys here to collect debts? Bisca sighed slightly and nodded. The next moment, Naruto stepped forward directly, pulled Mikao back, and said to Tebo and the others, if you want us to pay back the money, you guys are not qualified. Let your president come over. As soon as Naruto's words came out, Tebo and the others were stunned. They stayed where they were and looked at Naruto blankly. Then, they burst into a burst of wild laughter. Ha ha. Ah ha ha ha. In an instant, they all hugged their stomachs and laughed as if they had heard the funniest joke in the world. Seeing them like this, Naruto's expression remained unchanged, and he looked at them lightly. Tebo straightened up, he stared at Naruto and laughed wildly. What kind of thing are you? Are you a newcomer here? It's so funny, I'm afraid you still don't understand the situation, right? You Fairy Tail, now it's a horse, the weakest guild in Magnolia. And our Ghost of the Twilight is the big guild that can represent Magnolia City. How could you say such arrogant words? It's really unbelievable. Ha ha ha. Really, I don't know how high the sky is. Naruto sneered. Tebo laughed and waved his hand, and the people next to him immediately smashed the tables, chairs and benches of the guild. The guild suddenly became a mess. They are still laughing. Look. Your guild is only worthy of trembling under our feet. And you can only watch. This is weak. Damn, you guys. The crowd behind Naruto immediately planned to rush up. But Naruto suddenly waved his hand, stopping everyone's movements. Let them be arrogant for a while, anyway, this place will not be used in the future, and this is the only time they can be arrogant. Naruto said lightly to the crowd, his expressionless face. Mikao and others suddenly saw a cold. Excuse me, everyone, have you had enough trouble? Naruto asked them aloud after a while. Tebo and the others didn't expect that the newcomer Naruto would be so calm, and everyone around him seemed to be headed by him, so they couldn't help but feel a little strange. However, they didn't think too much, and they laughed even more arrogantly after hearing the words. Have we had enough trouble? You seem to want something more exciting. As soon as Tebo finished speaking, they rushed towards Mikao and the others, intending to punch and kick. Hey, this little girl looks good. Come with my brother to our Ghost of the Dusk. And someone saw that Lucky with long purple hair actually leaned over to molest her. Lucky hurriedly hid behind Naruto and survived. However, at the same time, a palm also patted Naruto directly, intending to knock him out. Naruto's eyes flashed. The next moment, he didn't even move. The air around him suddenly tightened. Teppo and the others suddenly burst into a burst, and before they had time to fight Mikao and others, they were already in the original place. Ground, unable to move. What's wrong? They were immediately shocked, not knowing why they couldn't move. Didn't I say it long ago? If you want to collect debts, you are not qualified. Tebo waited for the heat to look at Naruto, only then did he feel a strange breath emanating from him. The surrounding air was actually under his control, and he was tightly bound. What the hell is this? They were suddenly frightened. At this time, Naruto laughed and said, yes, you guys are really good at collecting debts this time. These broken tables, chairs and benches should be very rich in compensation, right? And everyone in Fairy Tail who was frightened should also receive some spiritual compensation. Naruto waved his hand, and these people were all involuntarily float up and gather in front of Naruto in midair. You, who are you? At this moment, Tebo and the others were finally afraid, and they had no room to resist in his hands. 905, Ghost of Twilight. You guys, it's over. Behind Naruto, I don't know who shouted first. Yes, your arrogance ends here. You, who the hell are you? Tebo looked at Naruto in fear and said. Ah! Suddenly, Tebo and the others screamed in pain in midair. Naruto shook his hand lightly, and the surrounding air vibrated in a strange way, and the layers became denser and denser, tightly wrapping Tebo and the others, and compressing it. It hurts. Yes, you did it. Ah! Tebo screamed in pain, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Naruto's palm clenched little by little. Teppo and the others screamed louder and louder, and their hearts were completely surrounded by fear. It's really scary. Mikao and the others thought to themselves. Naruto just waved his hand, and these guys were directly controlled, and they suffered a lot. What magic is this? It seems that after 7 years, many people have forgotten me, and also forgot that Fairy Tail was once a law that no one could mess with, right? Naruto continued to cast his magic and said slowly. Uzumaki Naruto, do you still remember this name? Ghost of Twilight, how dare you climb on Fairy Tail? Uzumaki Naruto. A trace of confusion flashed in their eyes. Suddenly, Tebo exclaimed, ah! Yes, it's that Uzumaki Naruto. The existence known as the Holy Ten, the strongest wizard in Fairy Tail. What? It's actually him. The others were also shocked and came to their senses. However, it's too late. Naruto deliberately let these guys destroy the things in the guild, because the guild owed debts before, but now it is different. Naruto will use these as excuses to blackmail them. Hey, it looks like you all remembered it. Come on, I'll go to your Twilight Ghosts Guild. Let me talk to your guild leader in person. Naruto waved his hand, and all these people were out of control. Go forward. He made another color towards the people behind him, signaling them to follow. Let's go to the Ghost of Twilight. Everyone in Macau was stunned for a moment, then suddenly cheered. Yeah, Naruto is mighty. Are we going to fight? Destroy them. Naruto smiled lightly. Don't get excited, we're just going to reason. Huh, Everyone became more puzzled, but looking at his smile, a chill appeared in their hearts, and they only felt that the surroundings were chilly. Your name is Tebo, right? You can take a good breath of air now. Naruto looked up at everyone, and then led a group of people out of the guild. The center of Magnolia. A huge guild stands there, people come and go, and it looks very lively. However, on the street, it caused another sensation. Because the people of Naruto and Fairy Tail were surrounded by a group of people on the street. What's the matter with these people? Ah, why are they all floating in midair? Tebo, this guy seems to be the guy of the Twilight Ghost. Who are these people? Ah, they're the ones from Fairy Tail. There was a lot of discussion. And Naruto is the guild that controls the 5 people of Teppo, as if nothing happened to the guild of the Ghost of the Dusk. You, what are you doing? Do you want to catch us and threaten our president? Tebo and the others shouted in horror. Naruto smiled disdainfully, ignoring their clamor. The guild gate of the Ghost of Twilight. When Naruto and his party arrived, the door was already full of figures, and they were all wizards of the Ghost of Twilight. Presumptuous. Put down Tebo and the others. A voice came from the door of the guild. Naruto raised his eyes and saw a square-faced man standing at the door. He wore sunglasses and a big cigarette in his mouth, surrounded by several magicians. Ah, President Panaposta, save us. Hurry up and save us. After seeing the president, Teppo immediately cried out loudly. It turns out that this big man is the president of the Ghost of Twilight. However, when he saw that Naruto actually used this strange method to control his younger brothers, he couldn't help but feel a little terrified. And Naruto glanced at the people around, whether they were wizards or civilians, they all took a step back. At this time, his body exuded a deeply fearful aura. Hey, what is this guy? Put my little brothers down. The Ghost of Twilight shouted. A drop of cold sweat broke out on his forehead, but he involuntarily backed away when he said this. Step. Snort. Naruto chuckled disdainfully, and the next moment, he ignored the other party's words and walked directly into the Guild of the Twilight Ghost. Hey, you, did you hear that? Quote. How dare you trespass our guild, give it to me. Take this arrogant guy down. The president gave an order, but when everyone just jumped up, they found that there was an invisible aura around them that solidified everyone, unable to move. Naruto and his party kept walking like this, and happily walked into the hall of the Ghost of Twilight under the terrified eyes of everyone. Naruto said lightly, I said, I'm here to make sense. He came to the hall of Ghost of Twilight and found the most comfortable seat to sit down. Then he let go of the control, and everyone rushed in, all staring at Naruto. Mikao and the others stood behind Naruto, and everything that happened next was waiting for Naruto to deal with. You guys, what are you trying to do? The guild leader of the Twilight Ghost and everyone in the guild gathered around them, and surrounded Naruto, who was sitting in the hall leisurely, as if he was facing a great enemy. Naruto told Rocky beside him, go and close the door. Lackey immediately led the way. With a bang, the gate of the entire guild was closed, and all those who wanted to watch the fun from the outside world were blocked. And the people of Ghost of Twilight were horrified. At this time, Naruto clapped his hands and let the Tebo people who had been controlled in the air release their control. With a few bangs, their bodies fell heavily. Just heard Naruto say, I've let go of your younger brothers. Next, let's discuss the issue of debt and compensation. 906. Kill. Is this way of negotiating debts? The president of the Ghost of the Twilight looked at Naruto Dalala sitting in the top position he used to do, his face was angry and shocked. However, he couldn't do anything about it, because the strength Naruto showed just now was too weird, and at that moment, people couldn't move. How could he not understand what that kind of confinement magic belongs to? Therefore, even as the president, he did not dare to act rashly. Hey, then what method do you want to use? Naruto raised his brows slightly, then glanced at Mikao beside him, and said, I know, just use this method. Mikao, go up to him, hit it up. Mikao was taken aback, thinking he heard it wrong. Do you ask yourself to fight the guild leader of the Ghost of Twilight? Is this too sudden? Although he said that he also wanted to beat him to vent his anger, the other party was also a powerful guild leader, right? You can't do it yourself. Mikao, do you have all that courage? Naruto asks you to go, so go ahead and fight. Okabe shouted from behind, and Mikao was immediately enraged when he heard the words. Okay, let's go. He rushed up directly and punched the guild master of the Ghost of Twilight. When the guild master of the Twilight saw that Mikao dared to rush up to hit him, he couldn't help but get furious. He was just about to fight back when Naruto, who was sitting beside him, just waved his arm, and there was an incomparably tyrannical force in the air. He controlled his whole body, and then his body was involuntarily pulled towards Mikao's fist and sent to the door automatically. Boom! The next moment, he was directly kicked out by Mikao. Mikao looked at his fist in disbelief, and the members of the surrounding Ghost of Twilight were all angry and planned to rush up, but Naruto waved his hand lightly, easily controlling his body, completely unable to move. Yeah, damn it, they exclaimed. Naruto smiled lightly and said to the people behind him, okay, you must have suffered a lot over the years. You were bullied by these guys riding on your head, and this debt is now well recovered. With me here, you feel free to play. When Max and the others heard it, they were immediately filled with righteous indignation. The humiliation they had suffered in the past 7 years had all turned into anger, and they rushed towards those who couldn't move, punching and kicking. However, Bisca and Lucky didn't go up, and the two girls stood beside Naruto obediently. What about you? Why don't you go up and kick a few punches? Naruto turned to ask them. We don't need it anymore. Bisca's eyes were full of excited tears. Lucky even cried excitedly. Well, Naruto, you're good to be back. Seeing you stand up for all of us, this heart has made us very satisfied. As long as we look at it like this, our hearts are already full. No more anger. We are very, very happy. Naruto nodded slightly. It's good, don't cry, I will take back the bullying you have received on your behalf. Okay, everyone can stop, don't beat people to death. Naruto waved his hand, and everyone immediately stopped moving and returned to Naruto's back. The members of Ghost of Twilight, including the guild leader, were already covered in bruises and bruises. Okay, you guys, can we have a good talk now? Naruto clapped his hands. But, it's alright. Please, please don't fight again. They cried. Naruto shook his head, suddenly looked at one of the big men, and said lightly, I remember you, it seemed like you wanted to tease Laji from our guild just now, right? The man was stunned for a moment, seeing Naruto's gaze falling on him. His whole body suddenly felt as if he had entered an ice cellar, his hands and feet became cold. Rocky next to Naruto saw the man with a look of disgust on his face. Every time that guy came to collect debts, he would do something to himself. If he didn't protect himself well, I'm afraid he would take all the cheap. Naruto glanced at Lachi, and then said to the man, it seems that it is you. Then, with a slight hook of his finger, the big man involuntarily floated into the air and flew in front of Naruto. Ah, no, President, save me, save me. The big man watched Naruto get closer and closer, but his body was completely out of control, and all the magic power in his body was imprisoned, unable to use it. This feeling of fear drove him crazy. This man is the devil. It's the devil. He was screaming in his heart, but the people around him were all unable to protect themselves, and the president was beaten into a pig's head. No one could help him, and everyone could only watch him being captured by Naruto. It's you, I knew it now, why did it happen in the first place? Naruto put him down, and with a bang, he landed at Naruto's feet. At this time, his heart was filled with fear, and he fell on the ground in fright. I didn't even have the courage to speak. I don't like killing people, but what I hate most is a scum like you. I want to tell you that people in our guild can't be bullied. Especially cute girls, but you have offended this. Now, accept it. My anger. Naruto's tone suddenly sharpened, and an incomparably powerful murderous aura emanated from his body, covering him. "Ah, don't kill me!" the big man shouted frantically, frightened by this murderous aura. His voice was shrill and miserable, making the hearts of the entire Ghost of Twilight members tremble. "Bullying the weak has never been my style, but if the guy who angered my bottom line, I will make him smash into pieces." Naruto stretched out his hand, just above the big man's eyebrows. The next moment, his entire body shook and became motionless. Then, his body suddenly disappeared like blue smoke. Everyone in the Ghost of Twilight was shocked, and Mikao and the others behind Naruto were also shocked by Naruto's actions. Killed. Killed in someone else's guild. Cold sweat broke out on everyone's head. "Naruto, Naruto," Mikao called him, feeling the seriousness of the situation. The struggle between guilds, as long as there are no casualties, generally won't be severely punished, but once death occurs, the Magic Council will definitely come forward to investigate, and no matter who it is will be punished by the law. 907. Destruction. Naruto waved his hand. The crowd stopped being agitated. He said lightly, "Okay, now it's time to discuss the dead issue." It was as if nothing had happened just now, which made everyone in Ghost of Twilight feel a chill in their hearts, including the guild leader, who were so frightened that they kept silent. Too strong. Ordinary mages are just a finger in front of him. Is this still a human? Suddenly, the guild master of the Ghost of Twilight exclaimed, I remember. You are the strongest wizard in fairy tale, Uzumaki Naruto." "What? It's him." "Well, this guy appeared suddenly. Didn't he disappear 7 years ago? Damn, how could this happen? It's over. He's one of the Holy 10. The crowd was terrified. Uzumaki-sama Naruto, we are blind to Mount Tarzan. We have forgiven all our debts. Just please let us go. Naruto-sama." President Ghost of Twilight suddenly ran. He knelt down at Naruto's feet and cried. Naruto glanced at him and said indifferently, "Oh, you said that the debt is completely forgiven. Hee, I think you were mistaken. I still have debts and you count." "Ah." The president was stunned, sweating profusely. "Mikao, you say, how many tables, chairs, benches, and how many members of our guild they have damaged in the past 7 years?" "Ah, this." Mikao couldn't answer for a while after hearing this. "Okay, I almost have it in my mind. Anyway, there are already too many, right? Hey, great, you guys, while I was away, bullied, abused, and beat our guild. How much humiliation and pain did you make us all suffer? That's right, the law of the weak is the rule of the world. We, Fairy Tale, have lost their main members, and it is inevitable that they will be bullied. But since I am back, then all this must be taken back. Otherwise, it would be very, very unpleasant." Boom. As soon as Naruto finished speaking, his body suddenly stood up, and at the same time, an incomparably powerful force and momentum suddenly erupted from his body. In an instant, the entire guild building was trembling, and the ground cracked. All the people around felt this powerful momentum, and the people of the Ghost of Twilight were directly pressed to the ground by this pressure, and they didn't even have the strength to move a finger. All of them looked at Naruto with a look of incomparable fear. However, Mikao and the others behind Naruto did nothing. Under Naruto's deliberate control, a small space including himself was safe and sound. However, the guild of the Ghost of Twilight was destroyed. At the moment when Naruto's momentum gradually increased, a dark cloud condensed in the sky, and the surrounding wind was whistling constantly, and the entire city of Magnolia was shrouded in a cloud of darkness. Among them, everyone on the street even thought it was the end of the world. Boom. A bolt of lightning the size of a bucket suddenly fell from the sky, and it directly bombarded the guild building of the Ghost of Twilight. There was a sudden bang, the entire guild collapsed, and sawdust and dust flew everywhere. I don't know how long it took. Naruto finally stopped the release of momentum, and slowly returned to calm. I saw that neither he nor the people behind him were affected in any way, but everyone was staring blankly at the surrounding scene. The huge guild was blown down by lightning in an instant, and the members of the guild were all buried under the building, covered in injuries. Naruto, a bit too much, right? Mikao reminded with his mouth wide open. Naruto sighed slightly. Let's go back, the debt collection is over. It's really not fun. It seems that my strength is too strong. I just activated 50% of the power in my body just now, and this place is in ruins. It's really boring to play with these guys. Jareth. Black Dragon. You wait. The last battle is far from over. Naruto thought to himself. In this way, Naruto brought the fairy tale members to the location of the Ghost of Twilight and made a scene, killing one person, destroying their building, and seriously injuring everyone. This is just the result of him not wanting to kill indiscriminately and ending his hands, otherwise the entire guild will be wiped out. However, Naruto's actions made Mikao and others feel very happy, and the grievances of being bullied and insulted for a long time were finally vented. It's just that the guys of the Twilight Ghosts will not retaliate. Naruto is very reassured. Those little characters have long been frightened, and it is estimated that they will never dare to appear in Magnolia in the future. Naruto's strength, just relying on his aura, crushed them to the ground and couldn't move, but they had never seen such a strong person in their lives. How could they dare to raise any thoughts of resistance? What's more, Naruto didn't start killing, which is already a great kindness. Sure enough, the president of the Ghost of the Dusk dismissed the guild members that day and warned them that they would never provoke Uzumaki Naruto again. Everyone is deeply jealous of Naruto. In their hearts, Fairy Tail can be messed with, but Naruto can't be messed with. After returning to the guild, the sky had already dimmed, and Naruto wanted to take everyone to the sea, but since there was no ship yet, he had to wait until the next day for Mikao to get ready to sail. During this period, Naruto had explained the whereabouts of Makarov and others to everyone, and promised to let them return to the guild, which made everyone excited again, and almost couldn't sleep at night. At Naruto's house, after dinner, Naruto, Bisca and Halantia were all ready to rest and sleep, but they encountered a very serious problem, that is, there were not enough beds in the room. For this reason, Naruto could only decide to sleep on the sofa in the living room, and let Halantia and Bisca sleep in the room. No, how can I let you sleep in the living room? This is where you live, so you should be allowed to sleep in the bed. Bisca said hurriedly. Well, Bisca, you should sleep in the living room, Naruto and I will sleep in the bedroom. Halantia covered her mouth and chuckled. 908. Repressed whisper. Ah, Bisca exclaimed when she heard it, looking at her and Naruto with a strange expression. In fact, before this, Bisca had already vaguely guessed that the relationship between Halantia and Naruto was not easy. Now that she heard this, she immediately turned to Yuhi. Could it be that the two of them are close enough to sleep? The point of a bed. Well, I feel so lost. Bisca's pretty face was slightly bitter. However, Halantia suddenly came over and grabbed Bisca, smiled and said to her, if it's just me and Naruto sleeping in the bed, it's not fair at all, Bisca, come too. Bisca was taken aback for a moment, and then, before she could react, Halantia pulled her into the room. Immediately, her jade face turned to Yuhi, looking at Naruto hesitantly said, Naruto, how can I sleep here? You should sleep. Bisca realized the relationship between Naruto and Halantia. Wouldn't she be a light bulb for them if she added it in? This can't be done. How can you be so shameless? Okay, you two can rest here in peace, I'll just go to the living room. Listen to me. Feeling the embarrassing atmosphere, Naruto hurried out to direct the overall situation. Although it was said that the two beautiful women were in his own home, he was also itching for it, and he and Halantia had not done it for 7 years, and now it was the reunion after a long absence. Of course he wanted to love her. However, with Bisca here, you have to be patient. Naruto spoke so solemnly, and the two women could only obey him. However, there was a sly look in Halantia's eyes. At night, the bright moon is in the sky, and the white moonlight shines on the entire magnolia, which is quiet and beautiful. Naruto was sleeping soundly on the sofa. He hardly slept in the virtual circle. Every day he walked in addition to fighting. Although his soul strength had been increasing, he was actually exhausted. Now that he can finally get a good night's sleep, this is really a great enjoyment for him. However, the bedroom door opened gently. A figure sneaked out quietly, and then closed the door again. She had aqua blue waist-length hair, and was wearing a white nightgown. She sneaked up to Naruto's sofa, looked at him sleeping peacefully, and murmured, "Naruto, do you know how much I've wanted to see you all these years? Hey, you little friend, it hurts me so much." She reached out her hand and gently stroked Naruto's face. Naruto was sleeping soundly when he suddenly felt something soft caress his face. He opened his sleepy eyes leisurely, only to see Halantia's delicate jade face in front of him. Is it a dream? Naruto couldn't help but be startled in a daze. Halantia smiled lightly and saw Naruto wake up, but she didn't leave, instead she lay down and leaned beside him. "Naruto, I miss you so much," Halantia whispered in his ear. At the same time, her soft lips were already gently touching Naruto's mouth. The lingering tone, the real touch, Naruto immediately knew that this was not a dream, but a reality, and in an instant, he woke up and left her lips. Halantia. "Shish. Naruto, don't move, or you will be discovered by Bisca," Halantia whispered while covering his lips with his hands. "Why did you run out?" Naruto was slightly startled. His perception was unaware of her arrival, and he didn't wake up until she touched him. He was really sleepy. However, it may also be because he has no intention of guarding against Halantia and Bisca. Halantia got into Naruto's bed and pressed against his chest. "I miss you." Halantia's voice was extremely soft and greasy, her face was against Naruto's chest, and her tender limbs were also wrapped around Naruto. I miss you too." Naruto was instantly moved by her words and actions, feeling her tenderness and sweetness, and a lust surged out of his body. Halantia looked at him, her beautiful eyes were full of lingering love. She just said a few words softly, "I want me." Naruto's blood surged up in an instant, and he lowered his head and closed her cherry mouth, and began to greedily suck. She sucked, as if she wanted to make up for everything she owed her over the years. Halantia hadn't seen Naruto for 7 years, and it was very rare to be able to endure it now. She felt Naruto's breath, and her whole person fell into a confusion. Where would there be other concerns? She took the initiative to separate her thighs, gently lifted her nightgown with her hands, nothing was worn inside, and then held Naruto's giant object and let Naruto stab in fiercely. "Ah!" A soft moan came out of her mouth, the long-lost sense of fulfillment made her water splash immediately. She bit Silver Kiba tightly, "Jow." The body is wrapped around Naruto like an octopus, and the lower body is tightly connected to Naruto, and moves involuntarily. The two were on the sofa, and the quilt wrapped around them gradually fell to the ground. Later, all the nightgowns on Halantia's body were taken off. In the living room, the two were silent, trying to suppress their respective voices, but their bodies were carrying out the most primitive collision. I don't know how long it took before Halantia finally collapsed weakly, lying on Naruto's body and whispering softly. "Naruto, this feeling is really happy. I really want to be like this with you all the time," she said with a dizzy Yuhi face. Naruto was stimulated by her words and was as hard as iron. He pressed her lower body. He said with a smile, "Then let's do it again." "Don't. If I do it again, I won't be able to get up tomorrow, and Bisca will find out." Naruto smiled and then gave up. "Okay, clean up, I'm going back to sleep." Halantia said goodbye and left. When she returned to the bedroom, she was slightly relieved when she saw that Bisca was sleeping soundly, and then hid under the quilt and slept with Naruto. "Love, I am so happy, but my body is so tired that I can hardly bear it." However, as soon as Halantia fell asleep, Bisca quietly opened her eyes and turned to look at her. 909. Comprehension. After a long time, Bisca quietly got up, opened the door and walked out. She cautiously entered the living room and looked at the sofa where Naruto was sleeping. Before, when Hylantia left, she had already woken up, and then she vaguely heard the low breathing sound coming from the living room. Without thinking, she had already guessed what was going on in the living room. At that time, she couldn't help being ashamed. Her body was shaking slightly, and her mind was full of that kind of thing. As a 25-year-old woman, Biska has always kept herself clean and has never had any relationship with any other man. However, as a woman, of course her body will have needs, but she has always liked Naruto, except for Naruto. Other than people, she would never touch other men. Even now, she is still a virgin, but when it is really unbearable, she will learn the method of other single women in the guild and solve it with her own fingers. And in the process of Hylantia and Naruto, Biska vaguely heard those extremely depressed whispers throughout the whole process, which made her even more unbearable, so at this time, she walked towards Naruto like a ghost. Living room. However, just when Biska suppressed her heartbeat and slowly came to Naruto, Naruto suddenly opened her mouth and she screamed in fright. Bishka, what's the matter with you? What? Naruto, are you awake? Biska held her mouth, shy and startled. Ah, I woke up as soon as you came out. Naruto laughed. In fact, he was in a state of excitement and couldn't fall asleep because he had just finished with Hylantia. However, Biska suddenly came out, which made Naruto extremely puzzled. At this time, although the room was very dark, Naruto's current strength had reached an unfathomable level, and he could see things even in the dark. Biska's face with Yuhi's face immediately made the atmosphere ambiguous. I came to the toilet, by the way, to see if you fell asleep. Biska hurriedly made an excuse to cover up the past. In fact, she didn't know why she came out. Oh, then you go. Naruto covered his body with a quilt. There was some crystal material on his body, and the moonlight often reflected through the window, which would reflect strange light. He didn't want Biska to see it. Arrive. Biska nodded lightly. She noticed Naruto's movements, opened her mouth, and wanted to say something, but she still didn't say anything and turned around. Suddenly, her delicate body froze, then turned her head suddenly, and plunged into Naruto's arms at once. Ah hey, what's wrong? Naruto was swept up in her arms, and her whole body was pressed down on the sofa by her, looking at her in a daze. Biska dazed Yuhi's face. She looked down at Naruto, her long green hair falling to his chest. Naruto looked up at her, and his body shook. At this moment, he seemed to understand something. Bishka. I like you. As soon as Naruto said a word, Biska opened his mouth and said to him. Ah, really? Naruto was taken aback by this sudden confession, and he couldn't help asking. Yes, I like you. Biska leaned over and hugged Naruto's neck tightly, speaking continuously in his ear. I liked you a long time ago, and I want to be your girlfriend. Be your wife. I want to be with you forever. Naruto was stunned. After a long time, Naruto smiled bitterly. I'm sorry. Biska's body trembled slightly, and she looked at Naruto with a sad face. Did he reject himself? For a moment, Biska felt that her whole body was in a twirl. However, Naruto then said, I'm sorry that I haven't been able to find your heart for a long time. It's my fault. You are very beautiful and kind. It's my great honor to have your favor. But, Biska, I have something to say to you. What is it? Biska didn't hear Naruto's refusal, and her heart suddenly fell, and she was very happy to hear him praise her so much. Naruto sighed. I have more than one woman, Hylantia is also my woman, and we just. Facing Biska's love, although Naruto was very happy, he also felt a sense of heaviness. He didn't expect that for a long time, there was such an infatuated girl waiting for him, but he never paid attention to it. Until this moment 7 years later. This made him feel guilty. Yes, it feels good to have girls gathered around me, but how much can I give back to them when I bear the love and love they give me? Naruto feels that he doesn't understand love, and all he can do is not to make the lovely girls who like him sad, and to bring them the greatest happiness. When there are more and more women around him, that's all he can do. Therefore, seeing Bisca also fell in love with himself, Naruto didn't know what it was like. It was very complicated. He's been looking for a way to comfortably accept every girl he likes, but he's finding it's all in vain. Because he has already indulged in the process of ambiguous games with different girls, in order not to make other girls sad, he concealed and deceived again and again, and then again and again. His attitude was ambiguous and hesitant. Are you such a jerk? At this moment, Naruto couldn't help but think so. So, he decided to confess to Bisca, confessing to her the fact that he had more than one woman. He didn't want to be so ambiguous anymore, because that would make girls more deceived. Moreover, he also made up his mind to find Urza, Mirage, Reeb, Lucy, and Juvia next time, and confess everything about him to them. After figuring this out, Naruto suddenly found that he felt a sense of enlightenment. His spiritual realm seemed to have a qualitative change all of a sudden, and the power in his body became more lively and smooth. 910. Infatuated Bisca. Don't say it, I know it. However, when Naruto was making a major decision, Bisca said quietly after listening to Naruto's words. Naruto came back to his senses and looked at her in surprise. I have long known that I am not the only girl who likes you, and I have long been mentally prepared. You are already closer to other girls than me, and I have long decided that at the moment of confessing to you, no matter how many unknown stories you have, I will love you, as always. Bisca hugged Naruto again and smiled slowly, because, you are the man who made me wait 10 years. At this moment, Naruto admitted that he was moved by her. How could such an infatuated Bisca not be liked? How can people refuse? Bisca, Naruto opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but the next moment was lightly blocked by her soft lips. Lingering and sad, Bisca hugged Naruto tightly and kissed Naruto tenderly. After a long time, she let go of him, sat up, and gently pulled off the nightgown on her body. Naruto's eyes lit up. She was wearing a black lace hood on her chest. Her tall breasts made people feel like two mountains were pressing down. From his angle, her skin was as white as jade. The slender waist in one grip, and the pair of tender buttocks sitting on his abdomen, all these are challenging Naruto's nerves. I can't stand it anymore, Naruto, please, help me. Bisca whispered softly, as if eager. Afterwards, she couldn't help but lift the black lace cover by herself, and suddenly two snowy white rabbits jumped out. Bisca. Seeing this scene, Naruto couldn't bear it anymore. He snorted weakly, and then directly stretched out his hand to hold her chest. Naruto, I want to be your woman. I want it now. Bisca twisted her body, her hips pressed against Naruto's crotch, and the flames in her heart seemed to be looking for an outlet. Naruto had a conversation with Hylantia before. Love was not satisfied. At this time, being teased by Bisca, she immediately rose up and held her buttocks hard. Ditch. Bisca stretched out her hand and took off Naruto's trousers actively, then held Naruto with trembling hands, gently pushed aside her black trousers, her body sank a little. Okay, so tight. Naruto whispered. He stretched out his hand to support Bisca's slender waist, and carefully helped her go deeper. Bisca's face was dizzy and Yuhi was dizzy, her delicate body was trembling, and the bottom was flooded, making Naruto wet. Finally, Naruto supported her and slammed her body up. It hurts. Bisca raised her head and groaned, her face showing a verve that seemed both painful and satisfying. After a long time, she recovered from this state and looked down at Naruto with a happy smile on her face. I finally become your woman. Yeah, Bisca. Naruto supported her delicate body, and her body began to move slowly. After a long time, a fish belly white appeared on the horizon. Bisca was lying on Naruto's chest, and her face was full of happy smiles. Bisca, knowing that I have a lot of women, you are still willing to do this, you are stupid. Naruto whispered in her ear. Bisca smiled slightly. If I don't speak my mind, I will regret it for the rest of my life. Even if I can only be with you once, I will be content. What a fool. Naruto hugged her tightly and kissed her face. Who told you to be the best man in the world? Bisca giggled. Kan, you don't blame me for being diligent. I don't think I'm a good man. Naruto was embarrassed by her praise. Who said that? You're the best anyway. Bisca stubbornly kissed him back. She was very satisfied. Naruto was the man she dreamed of. In the past, she could only watch him silently from the side, but now she can hug and kiss him so intimately, and he is really gentle, treating a useless woman like herself. She is actually so delicate, and she is afraid of hurting herself. It's so gentle. Bisca wished she could fit into Naruto's body and become a part of him. When the sun shone into the house, Naruto had no Bisca nor Halentia by his side, and he woke up leisurely. After exercising for most of the night, I hardly had a good rest, and now it is almost noon when I wake up. After getting dressed and washing up, Hylantia and Bisca also came out of the bedroom. The two women had a hint of springtide on their faces, and their faces were dizzy, looking radiant and sexy. After last night's watering and reclamation, Hylantia exudes a lazy and charming atmosphere, while Bisca has become more mature and has the charm of a new woman. As soon as he saw the demeanor of the two women, Naruto was already full, and this is beautiful and delicious. The two women looked at each other at this time, and they both saw the difference in each other. Women are very sensitive creatures. They seemed to understand something at once, and smiled at each other. After washing up, Bisca started to prepare breakfast. Halentia came to Naruto and asked him in a low voice, "Have you eaten it?" Naruto was stunned for a moment, and then he nodded. "Huh, I'm doing that kind of thing while I'm asleep. Naruto, how are you?" She rolled his eyes at him and said with a hint of jealousy. Naruto touched his nose and laughed. He pulled Halentia, and after thinking about it, he told her that he had many women. After hearing this, Halentia was not surprised, but smiled gently. "It's okay, Naruto, you don't need to care about these. I'm already very satisfied with you. I believe your other women are also that's what they all think." 911. Reunion. In a dilapidated tavern. A group of people gathered here. Because today is a big day. It is a day that is about to witness a miracle. Here is the location of the Fairy Tale Guild, the place where the third-rate guild lives. Mikao and others were in the hall, waiting for Naruto to arrive, and everyone's faces were very excited. When the sun was up, Naruto finally arrived. "I am sorry, I've made everyone wait for a long time." When Naruto's voice sounded at the door, everyone crowded up. "Naruto, you're finally here. The ship is ready, it's ready to go." "Naruto, I still can't believe that kind of thing. Will everyone really show up by then?" "Come on, don't question Naruto. Naruto said if everyone can come back, then everyone will come back." Hearing the voices of the crowd, Naruto clapped his hands. "Okay, everyone, go to Sirius Island with me, everything will be clear." Everyone shouted with confidence and enthusiasm. Go to Sirius Island. Pick everyone back. Fairy Tale Rise. At noon, everyone finally drove the boat to the sea area where Sirius Island was located. There used to be Sirius Island, but after the attack of the Black Dragon, it suddenly disappeared from the world, along with everyone who was on the island at that time, including Naruto, but now that Naruto is back, he brought him with him. He gave everyone hope, and he said he could bring everyone back. Therefore, Mikao and others are very excited, looking forward to seeing the moment when the members of Fairy Tail are reunited. Seeing Naruto's determined smile, everyone was full of confidence. In the afternoon, the ship finally reached the waters of Sirius Island and stopped. Looking at the empty sea around, everyone turned their attention to Naruto, waiting for his action. Naruto smiled lightly, and he looked at everyone and said, "Don't worry, Sirius Island, it will show up soon." As he said that, he jumped slightly and jumped directly to the sea, but his whole body did not sink into the water, but walked on the waves and walked forward step by step. Everyone on the boat looked at his back and thought Naruto was like a god. Before, he showed the stunt of controlling the enemy from the air, stabbing the big man with one finger, and then thundering the guild, and now he has shown the ability to walk on the waves. This series of magical abilities made everyone full of confidence in him. Naruto, after coming back this time, the strength has become even more unpredictable. Mikao sighed. Yeah, but he was defeated by Hailong before. Hey, what kind of existence is Hailong? Look, the sea is surging. A man suddenly shouted. Everyone looked carefully. I saw Naruto's hands stretched forward in the void, and an invisible force escaped from his hands. Suddenly, a miracle happened. I saw a faint light emerge from the originally empty sea, and everyone saw the shadow of a serious island looming in the light. Show me, Naruto shouted softly. The next moment, the light will shine. Immediately afterwards, the seawater poured back, surging frantically, and the ship shook violently, but there was no panic on the faces of everyone, but an incomparable surprise. Sirius Island has appeared. Mikao shouted excitedly. Naruto flashed, suddenly returned to the boat, waved his hand and said, Go over, I can already feel everyone's breath. He was also very excited at the moment. I thought that 7 years later, Urza and the others were all killed in the mouth of the Black Dragon, but unexpectedly, they were hidden in the alien dimension. This is really good. And Naruto didn't have much effort to unlock this alien dimension. Now he has mastered the power of the origin of this world, and can do almost everything. However, in the process of unraveling, he clearly found that this alien dimension was created artificially, and it was also very loose, as if a certain force was also working to unravel it. Before the sea calmed down, the ship could not wait to sail to Sirius Island. On the island, the strong magic was still there, and at the same time, Naruto also felt everyone's breath. Makarov, Natsu, Gray, Urza, Mirage, Lysina, Lucy, Rebi. Their breath is right where they were fighting. Naruto's figure flashed, and he flew directly into the air and rushed over. Behind him, Mikao and the others slowly chased after him. As expected, everyone was there, but they were all buried in dust. Naruto woke everyone up, and everyone finally reunited. Naruto, where's the Black Dragon? Urza asked Naruto with a frown. Yeah, I remember we were hit by the roar of the Black Dragon. Natsu said. At this moment, a crisp and delicate voice came from the sky. The Black Dragon has left, and I activated the magic to protect you. Everyone looked up at the source of the sound. Naruto looked at her thoughtfully. I saw a loli slowly falling from the sky. She was wearing a long white dress with a yuhi-colored bow tied on her chest. The white neckline was turned up high, and her long pale yellow hair was wavy and wavy. Behind him, the 2 white angel ears on both sides of his head dangled slightly, and the whole person looked so cute and unbearable. You, who are you? Some people in the guild asked with their mouths wide open with a surprised expression. Hello, I'm the first-generation president, Mebis. Little Loli greeted everyone with a clear voice, but what he said surprised Naruto. She was actually the first president who founded Fairy Tail, Mebis. This is a legendary character. It actually appears here. When the Black Dragon attacked, I turned everyone's beliefs and bonds into magic with all my strength, and activated the Fairy Ball, one of the 3 magics of Fairy Tail. It was your beliefs and bonds that protected you. The Tail has become a great guild, the 3rd generation. Mebis looked at Makarov with a happy smile on his face. 912. The original Mebis. The appearance of the first generation surprised everyone. First generation, why did you come out? Makarov asked. I'm in a ghost state now. And only the Fairy Tail members can see it. Well, let's reunite. After all, I've been trapped here for 7 years. Mebis looked at everyone and explained. After some explanations from her, everyone finally understood. It's incredible, 7 years have passed. Urza and the others exclaimed. Hey, Mikao is really old. Natsu shouted at Mikao. Wow, Bisca, you're getting sexier. Mirage said to Bisca. Seeing the reunion of everyone, Mebus had a happy smile on his face. At this moment, Mebus suddenly looked at Naruto and said to him, "Can you come over? I have something to tell you." Naruto smiled and nodded. What is Shodai first Sama looking for with Naruto? Makara became curious. Who knows, but Naruto came out before you guys. He also helped us clean up the ghost of Twilight. Besides, he also conjured up Sirius Island. Everyone said. What's going on? Urza and the others were greatly surprised. They tried to recall what happened before. It seemed to have happened a moment ago. They only knew that after a white light passed, Naruto disappeared, and then they lost consciousness, and they didn't know what happened during this period. In front of the power that destroys the sky and destroys the earth, my mind is completely blank. Naruto followed Mebus to a secluded forest. Mebus jumped onto a rock, sat down gently, and dangled her tender white legs. You're very strong, she said, looking at Naruto. Naruto smiled lightly. You are Shodai first Sama, and you are able to survive in the world as a ghost body, which is amazing. Where have you been in the past 7 years? Mebus asked. When I used magic, I found that you had disappeared from this world. I didn't expect you to appear again, and, if it wasn't for you help, the seal of the fairy ball won't be opened so quickly. Who are you? Hearing her series of questions, Naruto shook his head and smiled bitterly. Shodai first Sama, you asked so many questions, I don't know where to start. Well, let me ask you, when I saw that you should have been destroyed by the Black Dragon, why are you alive now? Mebus asked curiously. Naruto frowned and pondered for a while before slowly saying, it's a long story on this issue, but I can show you something. Mebus tilted his head, showing a puzzled look. Naruto stretched out his hands suddenly clasped together, and then, his palms slowly separated again. In an instant, the surrounding wind was surging, energy was surging, and the world changed color. Mebus was slightly startled and looked carefully between Naruto's palms. I saw that after Naruto's hands were separated, a black space crack formed in the palm of his hand. This crack gradually formed a black void, which was full of terrible chaotic energy. Just a little bit of it was emitted, causing the surrounding to fly sand and rocks, heaven and earth. Discoloration. This is... Mebus looked shocked. Naruto clapped his hands together again, retracting the space crack, and the surroundings became calm again, as if nothing had happened. He smiled slightly. Yes, this is a different dimension. Extraordinary space, Mebus exclaimed. Your fairy ball is also a kind of alien space, but the space seal of your fairy ball is based on this world, and what I just showed you, it is the most primitive chaotic space, which runs through time and space turbulence in various planes. Naruto explained. After listening to Mebus, a dignified look appeared on her face. She stood up, jumped in front of Naruto, looked at him and said, you really are not simple, so you went to other plane worlds before. Naruto nodded. Wow, is other world fun? I want to go and I want to go too. Suddenly Mebus exclaimed exaggeratedly. The serious expression on his face disappeared suddenly, and turned into excitement. Forehead. Naruto was taken aback. In fact, I also have some research on space, but I'm not as powerful as you. I didn't expect our fairy tale to produce someone as powerful as you. Mebus said with a smile. By the way, Shodai first Sama asked me why. Naruto couldn't understand this little loli who didn't know how old he was. Is this the founder who founded Fairy Tail? The character is really unpredictable. I'm curious. You can actually unlock my seal. The fairy ball was created by me. It was easily unlocked by you, of course I have to ask. But now I'm so happy. Fairy Tail has with a guy as strong as you. He will definitely be even more powerful in the future. Mebus clapped his hands happily. Naruto was speechless and was simply overwhelmed by this inexplicable little loli. Well, I'll promise you, as long as I'm here, no one can bully Fairy Tail. Naruto said, looking at her. Yeah, Mebus nodded heavily. If it's you, you can definitely do it. Because you're stronger than me. Okay, you probably haven't seen others for a long time, let's reunite. Mebus said again. Naruto nodded, suddenly thought of something, and said to Mebus, by the way, Shodai first Sama, don't tell everyone about me on Sirius Island this time, I don't want to let them know that I actually went to other worlds a long time ago. Well, don't worry, I will say that you are also protected by me in the fairy ball like them. Mebus smiled and nodded and agreed, what a gentle person, I don't want everyone to be more unnecessary. Are you worried? The past is over, the most important thing is that everyone is together now. Naruto smiled. Yeah, Mebus also laughed. Next, Naruto and everyone returned to the boat. And everyone also learned from Mikao that Naruto came out a few days before them. They were very curious and began to question Naruto. 913. Participate in the Great Demon Fight. Naruto had thought about it for a long time, and he explained it slowly, saying that after he was sealed in this space, he suddenly had an understanding of power, and then came out a little earlier than everyone, and also obtained the ability to unlock this space. Method of sealing. And everyone heard it and seemed to understand it. However, this is no longer important. What is important is that everyone can return to this world and be able to reunite with the original people. This is already a great happiness. So, everyone went back to the tavern and started a super big carnival. The carnival continued for a day and a night, until the second 10:10 lighted up, and no one wanted to stop. However, as a magician, it is not uncommon for him to sleep a day and night without closing his eyes. Everyone seems to want to make up for the lost 7 years, and the carnival has never stopped. In this tavern, all of a sudden, it became lively and lively from the original cold and quiet. Naruto sat aside, and Urza and Mirage were drinking and chatting. 7 years have passed in the blink of an eye, I didn't expect the guild to change so much. Yes, not only is the place smaller, but there are also fewer people. Urza and Mirage sighed. Naruto smiled slightly and said, as long as everyone is back, the guild will be prosperous. Hee, this is it. Fairy tale is the best. Suddenly a voice sounded beside him. Both Urza and Mirage were taken aback. The original Mebusama. I saw Mebus little lowly standing on the stool with bare feet, reaching for a wine glass, wanting to drink something. Naruto quickly took it and said, Shodai first, Sama, you are a ghost, you can't eat. Mebus' mouth slumped, and he immediately became dejected. By the way, Shodai first, Sama, aren't you sleeping peacefully on Sirius Island? Why did you come out casually? Urza asked. Well, it's boring to be on the island all the time, so I just wanted to come out and have a look. Mebus laughed as a matter of course. Ah, okay. Urza couldn't help but drip a drop of cold sweat on her forehead. As a ghost, it's too casual. But she didn't dare to say it. On the other side, Makarov was discussing with Mikao about the guild, as well as asking about the development and status of the guild over the past 7 years. After a while, he beckoned and let Gildas follow him out. Others continued to revel. Natsu and Gray were still fighting, and Kana was drinking heavily, and came to Naruto to toast from time to time. Juvia had been hiding next to Naruto, looking at Urza and Mirage, as well as Mebus who had just appeared, with envy and hatred. Rebi is chatting with 2 of her former friends, surprised by how the 2 have changed over the past 7 years. In short, everyone felt the changes that have taken place around them in the past 7 years. However, at the same time, Naruto also introduced Halantia to everyone, and she also joined Fairy Tail. Halantia showed her water magic, but did not show her true strength. This kind of carnival has been going on for a week. In this week, everyone is adapting to the changes around them, and at the same time, everyone feels that their own strength has not kept up with this era. Therefore, after 7 days, everyone could not help but worry about their own strength. In the past few days, journalists from various parties have also come to visit, and in addition, people from other guilds have come to visit. For a time, the Fairy Tale Guild was once again lively on this continent. Several people from the Magic Council also looked for Naruto once, but they did not judge him or anything, but talked to him like a friend. In the end, they even let Magnolia City, who was originally arrested by him. The guild buildings that were mortgaged were also returned to them. It can be said that Fairy Tale has once again set off a craze on the mainland. However, despite being under the watchful eyes of all parties, this kind of high-profile situation is extremely exciting, but Urza and the others are aware of the hardships. Their strength has been unable to keep up with everyone. In this world, if they don't work hard to improve, I am afraid it will be difficult to maintain their previous reputation. Therefore, after the carnival, everyone was very troubled, trying their best to think about how to improve their strength. During this period, Makarov became the guild leader again, Gildas left the trip again, and the guild returned to its old state for a while. However, now everyone knows the current situation of the guild, that is, from the first guild in the past, it has become a third-rate garbage guild, and has been ridiculed and bullied by the world. But trying to regain the title of the first guild and re-establish the guild's status in the kingdom can be described as difficult. Because even the members of the guild have returned, but in the past 7 years, other guilds have grown stronger and stronger, only Fairy Tale has become worse and worse, and even if the members of the serious group have returned, their strength is also it just stayed 7 years ago, far from being comparable to the people in the powerful guilds now. However, this cruel status quo did not hit everyone. On the contrary, everyone in the Heavenly Wolf clan was very excited, with high fighting spirit, eager to become stronger again, and then be recognized by the world. However, if you want to quickly gain the recognition of the world, the ordinary way is far from being achieved. However, there is no way in the world. During the 7 years that you are away, the kingdom has also undergone some changes, and the next most important thing is the Great Demon Fight is about to begin. The so-called Great Demon fighting in martial arts means that all major guilds participate in a battle to decide the birth of Matsuri, the strongest guild in the kingdom. This is a feast of human magic. At that time, there will be many powerful guilds and all kinds of brilliant magic. This magical feast will attract the attention of everyone in the whole country and even the entire continent. At that time, as long as you get the first place in the Great Demon Fighting martial arts, then Fairy Tale will regain the title of the #1 guild in the country. This is the fastest way. It is also the most challenging method. After all, in the past 7 years, everyone's strength has fallen a lot. If you go to fight with the current powerhouses, you may not be as good as others. However, everyone's confidence was irresistible. Even if their strength was not enough, they still shouted to participate. Not only that, but even Makarov raised his hand in favor of the proposal. 914. Special training at the seaside. Really, we are the worst guild right now. We are the last, someone shouted. But Natsu and the others were very excited and didn't care about it at all, which made Naruto very helpless. Everyone's strength really stayed at 7 years ago. If you want to participate in the big magic fight where the masters gather, you will lose miserably without thinking about it. However, Naruto didn't respond to whether he participated or not. For him, what he wanted to see most now was Jareth and Hyelong. Afterwards, he raised his hands in approval. Hey, why are you so irrational? Even Naruto. You must know that everyone's strength can't keep up with the times now. Visca sighed helplessly when she saw Naruto also raising her hand. It's okay, as long as we win the first place, our guild will suddenly become the first. Miraji comforted with a smile. You are not clear about the current situation. It's alright, it seems that the Great Demon Fight will not start until 3 months later, as long as we find a way to become stronger during this period. Urza smiled lightly, looking very calm. I really can't do anything about you. Everyone, keep working hard. This is related to the 30 million bonus. Makarov shouted. After deciding to participate in the Great Demon Fight, everyone started their own struggles. Although Urza and the others were full of confidence, this did not mean that they were underestimating the enemy. On the contrary, they were in a hurry now, eager to improve their strength, looking for ways to bridge the 7-year gap. Regarding this, Naruto has nothing to do. Although he is very strong now, it is not easy to improve a person's ability. After all, one's own strength can only be obtained by accumulating and training step by step, otherwise it will be all empty talk. So, in the coming days, everyone decided to conduct a 3-month training camp. This is related to the results of the great demon fighting and martial arts, and there is absolutely no room for slack. This time, the training was divided into 2 groups. The boys led by Natsu, Gray, and Elfman formed a team and entered the deep mountains to practice. The rest of the girls, Urza and Mirage, unanimously decided to go to the beach for special training. And Naruto's strength is now recognized as the number 1. As one of the Holy 10, even if he has passed 7 years, he will not lose to the current guys without training. However, when Urza and the others unanimously decided to go to the beach for special training, they insisted on taking Naruto along, and called it Naruto's guidance. This made Naruto, who originally planned to go around the world like Gildas, very helpless, but he could only agree to everyone's request. To the seaside. Naruto knew that he was really wrong this time. I saw a lot of colorful swimsuits in front of me. Even more dazzling than the swimsuit was the sight of the girls' white bodies shaking in front of them. On the beach, Naruto held his head and looked speechless. I said, "Are you here to train or play?" he called out, pointing to Lucy and Rebi who were frolicking on the beach in front. Oh, although it's called cultivation, it's good to combine work and rest occasionally. After Naruto finished speaking, Urza also jumped into the sea and swam around. You guys. Naruto was speechless. Although the sun was shining and the sea breeze was warm at this time, such a day was very suitable for playing at the beach, but at least one should recognize the current situation, right? Just when he had nothing to do with these girls, something soft and elastic suddenly hit him behind him. Oh, Naruto, what are you doing? Come and play with us. Mirage had a devilish smile on his face, and a pair of tender and white jade arms tightly hugged Naruto's hand, using the plump and huge twin peaks gripped him tightly. Naruto was pulled into the sea by her. Hey, how come you have fallen even Mira? Naruto shouted helplessly. What? This is obviously a kind of relaxation before training. Are you going to let me train like hell on the first day, Naruto? Mira looked at him with a pitiful look. Well, since today is the first day, I'll let you guys have a good time. Naruto sighed and made an excuse. Hee, Naruto, you are really good. Mira jumped over and pressed Naruto into the sea at once, and her bulging chest was directly pressed against Naruto's chest. His body was only separated by a layer of delicate swimsuit fabric. When Naruto lowered his head, he saw the most exposed tits in the deep ravine. Hee, shall we swim together? Mirage whispered in Naruto's ear, rubbing his body lightly on him, bringing him a silent temptation. Naruto was unbearable for such a scene. He swallowed, and just as he was about to agree to her, he heard a rush of water, and a delicate body swooped in front of Naruto, knocking Milagi away in one fell swoop. Lying on Naruto. Even if it's swimming, it's me and Naruto, right? Woo better. Urza, you are so cunning. Mirage opened her eyes with tears as she smashed herself into the air. Urza, you're wrong. How can you play with Naruto alone? If you want to swim, of course we all go together. Lucy's voice also sounded above Naruto. Naruto looked up and saw a pair of snow-white slender thighs. The white and tender appearance made people ticklish. Lucy, are you swimming with Naruto? I want to come too. The other girls around also ran over and shouted around Naruto. The small and exquisite Ruby and Wendy, the cute appearance of the two in swimsuits also made people's eyes shine. This time, Naruto suffered from the blessings of the eyes, so many swimsuit beauties surrounded him, and the faint fragrance emanating from them would make him faint. Okay, then let's play together. Seeing that so many girls came to protest, even the usual eldest sister, Elsa, could only give in. That's it. Naruto belongs to all of us. I don't know who shouted, and all the girls giggled. 915. Wear sunscreen. In the end, Naruto, surrounded by the girls, swam with them in the sea. During the period, he didn't need to wipe the oil at all. The girls took the initiative to lean on him and touched him. He found that when a group of girls gathered together, the shy girls who could not let go would slowly let go. However, when Urza and others were trying to seduce Naruto, Wendy did not participate. She was dismissed by everyone on the pretext of being unsuitable for children. As a result, she could only watch Naruto fall into Yuhi's face on the side. Urza and their bodies. This is a kind of enjoyment for Naruto, but also a kind of torture. Fortunately, everyone quickly got tired of playing, and after landing, everyone played other things on their own. Rebby and Lucy are playing with sand, Mirage and Listener are chasing each other, Kana is discussing something in a low voice with Juvia, and Juvia looks like Yuhi. Urza lay on the side, basking in the sun leisurely. Wendy was studying with a stack of magic books. This magic book was given to her by Ms. Belusica before she came to the training camp. She said that the magic knowledge that Tianlong grandly asked her to pass on to her was the magic knowledge that she had not been able to teach her at that time. Dragon profound truth. Seeing that everyone finally stopped pestering him, Naruto couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. If it continued like this, he believed that he would definitely not be able to bear it. At that time, if something happens, it's really hard to say. Naruto, can you help me put on the sunscreen? At this moment, Elsa suddenly waved at him and smiled. Yes, yes. Naruto nodded and walked over after a moment's surprise. At this time, Urza was lying on the beach with a mat under her body. Under the sun, Elsa, who was only wearing a swimsuit, had an unmistakably bumpy figure, and her long red Yuhi-colored hair was casually draped over her back. Just looking at it, Naruto almost couldn't hold back and wanted to pounce on her. Impulsive. Hee, then I'll trouble you. Urza looked back and blinked. Naruto took the sunscreen and poured it on his hands, then gently lifted Urza's long hair and put his hands on her back. Soft, smooth, delicate, these touches made his breathing thicker. Urza groaned softly. Naruto, can you help me untie the straps on my back? Her hood hadn't been taken off yet, it would be a hindrance to wipe it behind her back, so Urza directly asked Naruto to help her take it off. Okay. Naruto swallowed and untied her belt gently. Suddenly Urza's hood fell softly, and the two round spherical objects in Naruto's sight were squeezed. Come out. Naruto, now you can do it. Urza narrowed her beautiful eyes slightly, waiting for Naruto to rub oil on her body. Naruto smeared oil on his hands and pressed them against Urza's back. From top to bottom, he slid across her skin inch by inch, bringing with him a burst of wonderful feeling. And Urza is the same. Naruto's fiery big hands are constantly fondling back and forth on her sensitive back, which immediately makes her feel itchy all over. Face quietly floated to dizzy Yuhi. At this time, Naruto couldn't bear it anymore. He looked around and saw that no one else saw the scene here, so his hands were dishonestly wrapped around Urza's chest. Naruto, what are you doing? Urza shuddered violently, opened her eyes, and found that her breasts had fallen into Naruto's palm. The strange feeling came, and she immediately felt breathe softly. You queen of fairies, I can't stand the temptation. Naruto whispered in her ear. Elsa looked around in a panic, and said urgently, don't do this, everyone will see it. Hey, it's you who told me to wear sunscreen. You made me angry, and I won't spare you if you don't help me solve it. Naruto chuckled, and lowered his head and kissed her on the spot. Urza groaned, startled by Naruto's actions. With a wave of Naruto's arm, an enchantment was immediately formed around, and others could only see Urza lying there basking in the sun alone. He left her lips and whispered, Alusha, don't worry, I have set up the barrier, and you won't see it. Urza was stunned, dumbfounded. Naruto, in order to do this kind of thing, actually set up a barrier. Hey, I can't stand being teased by you for a long time. Urza, should I satisfy me now? Naruto hugged her tender body, bowed his head and kissed her lips, neck, and chest inch by inch. Before Urza could answer, her whole body trembled slightly, being made extremely comfortable by Naruto. Her delicate body kept twisting. Really, are we really not going to be discovered? Urza groaned and didn't forget to ask again. Of course. Naruto held one of her left breasts in one hand, and pursed her right breast with his lips, carefully savoring Urza's beautiful body. What? A long groan, Naruto finally entered Urza's body, and the two boldly made love on the beach. The two did not know how many movements they had changed, and Elsa was gasping for breath, almost fainting. In the end, Naruto made Urza lie on the mat with her back to him. He pressed her from behind, stretched out her buttocks, and after entering deeply, after a few fierce attacks, he finally sprayed the essence come out. Phew, I'm finally satisfied, Urza. Naruto smiled and wiped her body while putting on his trousers to pack up. Elsa was lying there, panting and sweating. She didn't know the south, east, north and west for a long time. When she heard Naruto's words, she just murmured, I'm about to die. Naruto smiled. This is the punishment for tempting me. Rest well, Urza. He waved his hand to release the barrier, saw Urza lying on the mat so tired and fell asleep, smiled and left the place. At this time, everyone around was as if nothing had happened, and they didn't notice anything strange at all. 916. Take a bath. Half a day has passed. In the afternoon, after eating, everyone was ready to start training. Naruto was relieved to see that they were no longer playing. This group of girls is easy to deal with one or two, but it is difficult to deal with it in a group at once. Fortunately, they also know the proportions. After a long time of play and rest, they began to practice. Lucy summoned the Protoss to help rest the Protoss magic. Urza was training with Naruto, and everyone else started training separately. On the seaside, there is a lively scene. That night, everyone who had finished practicing was exhausted. There is a small hotel by the sea, and there is a big Wen Izumi in the small hotel. Naruto and the girls plan to live here for 3 months. Cultivating during the day, resting well at night, and combining work and rest will bring the greatest progress. It's really comfortable, it's really refreshing to take a dip after training. Lucy said with a long sigh of relief, sitting in Wen Izumi. It's a rare opportunity like this. Elsa said with emotion. It feels so good to take a bath with everyone. Yeah, the fatigue flew away all of a sudden. Wendy laughed. Juvia is so shy. Juvia said, hiding behind a stone. What are you shy? Everyone is a woman. Kana pushed her and pushed her out, and at the same time, she reached out and hugged her, her hands all at once holding her chest. You're still very predictable here. It's not worse than mine. Kana squeezed as if playing a trick, and Juvia suddenly softened and murmured again and again. Kana, you slut, don't bully Juvia. Ribi stood up and said justice. Kana smiled and suddenly swam over, reaching out and grabbing Lebi's chest. Rebi hurriedly dodged, shy and angry. You are too bad. Hee, Lebi, you must be jealous of me and Juvia. No way. Hey, I'm so small. Wendy looked at everyone with big breasts, and the wonderful swaying appearance made her look envious for a while. I seem to have forgotten something. Kana said suddenly. What's the matter? We're taking a comfortable bath here. What is Naruto doing? Well, Naruto, we don't know about that. Ask Urza. Mirage giggled. Why are you asking me? Urza panicked and hurriedly argued. She was a little guilty in her heart. After all, she had done shameful things with herself for a long time during the day and tomorrow. Che, who doesn't know that Naruto knows you best in the guild? Kana said slightly with jealousy. I think Naruto and Lucy are quite familiar with each other. Mirage said again. Everyone looked at Lucy again, and Lucy hurriedly waved her hand. That, where is it, where is it? Although she has had a relationship with Naruto for a long time, she is still very shy to admit it under the eyes of so many girls. And she can also see that everyone likes Naruto. Juvia's envious eyes fell on Lucy and Urza. Okay, while everyone is here, how about I ask you a question? Kana said to everyone with a wicked smile, who among you has been with Naruto? Ah, when everyone heard the words, they immediately lowered their heads in shame. Mirage spat. Kana, you really can ask this kind of question. Who will answer it? Cut, it can't be Mila, you've already done it, right? Kana looked at her. Immediately everyone's eyes fell on her. Mila's face was full of Yuhi in an instant, and she hurriedly waved her hand. No, I don't have it. Well, sister, you have to do your best. Lisana encouraged her. Don't talk nonsense. Really, has no one succeeded? Kana looked at everyone with her chest ring in her arms. Urza, Lucy, and Ribi all bowed their heads. Kana laughed and said, if that's the case, then it's easy to deal with. She thought to herself, it seems that everyone has never had a relationship with Naruto. If so, they have already had a relationship with him. Don't you have the best chance to be his wife? She was secretly delighted. As everyone knows, Elsa, Lucy, and Rebi all have their own concerns. And Naruto, the initiator, is no longer on the seaside now. His body was above the clouds, flying and looking down. The training camp is about to start, but during this period, he must also collect information about the world for 7 years. Another very important thing is to find the location of Ulu. When Ulu left, he originally planned to find her, but he was delayed because of the next series of events. Now 7 years have passed, I don't know how she is. You must find her. Moreover, Angier, who had been living in her own house before, didn't know where to go. She didn't know where she went. The seal on her body has not been released yet. A weak girl, he is suddenly a little worried about her. In midair, Naruto opened his cognition net to search for the breath of the two, while observing the changes in the world. 3 months later, in the great demon fight, there will be many strong players. Although Naruto is not afraid, Urza and the others will also participate, so he must ensure their safety. Moreover, he had never heard of the great demon fighting martial arts before. This was Matsuri who appeared in the past 7 years. He didn't quite understand why it appeared, so he had to investigate it carefully. After searching for most of the night, Naruto went back to rest and sleep, and all the girls were resting at this time. Early the next morning, Naruto separated a Mokudan wood-style clone and asked him to supervise the practice of the girls. And his body flew to other places. Now that his strength is strong enough, he can not only fly freely, but also use the technique of space. He has already set the mark of the Hiraishin technique on the women, and he can return to them at any time. Therefore, he left only one clone to supervise. He went to other places with confidence, continued to search for the figures of Ulu and Angie, and also stopped by to see the place where the great demon fighting was performed, which is where the royal palace was located. Land. Naruto has not been there yet. This time I went to investigate, and it's not bad to take a look at the scenery of the imperial capital. 917. Infiltrate the royal palace. The capital of the kingdom of Fury, Cloacus. A bustling city, where order is inspiring, and commerce and magic flourish together. Naruto descended on the streets of this city, and he looked at the people around him and observed secretly. This is the venue for the annual Great Demon Fight, where many guild teams compete with each other to select the strongest guild, which is guarded by the king and certified by the authority of the state. In the past few years, due to the progress of the Great Demon Fight, the imperial capital has become more and more lively. Magicians of all kinds have come here, and some people are even stationed here. It can be said that the fish and the dragon are mixed here. However, it is still not obvious that Naruto came here in advance, just to investigate. Because the great demon Do Yanwu suddenly appeared in the past 7 years, this is really a concern. Why is this such a big event held? Is it just as simple as fighting for the first place? Moreover, I heard that this was a decision made by the king, which means that the game was dominated by the king, and it was even more suspicious. How could the lord of a country hold such a huge competition in order to choose the strongest guild? Naruto always felt that there was something unknown in this. There is an unusual aura here. Naruto walked all the way from the street, and when he was near the palace, he suddenly felt a strange aura, which came from the palace. Looks like I have to go to the palace to check it out. Naruto thought to himself. With his strength, there is almost nothing in this world that can hide from him, but the kind of aura in this palace was not discovered until Naruto got so close. That said, it's definitely not something simple. Is that giraffe? Or is it a black dragon? Or some other powerhouse, or some artifact? Although I don't know if the strange aura is related to the great demon fighting and martial arts, but even if it is not related, Naruto would like to see what happens when he encounters something unknown. So Naruto was ready to enter the palace. It's very simple, no need to disguise or pass through other people's relationships. Naruto flew directly into the air, turned into a streamer and appeared inside the palace. No one around could detect his infiltration. Even the heavily guarded Kingdom Palace has no secrets to Naruto. And when he first entered the palace, he felt that strange aura became stronger. Naruto walked in the direction of that breath, and soon reached the door of a great hall. The door to the hall was closed and locked. The breath faintly came from inside. Naruto frowned slightly, reached out and pressed the lock. Just as he was about to forcibly enter, suddenly a footstep came from not far away. The next moment, a girl with light green shoulder-length hair came from the corridor. She wears an emerald garland on her head and an emerald necklace around her neck. Under a beige off-shoulder dress, she looks noble and elegant. When she came to the door of the main hall, Naruto had disappeared long ago. Strange, I clearly felt some magic fluctuations just now. She muttered to herself, then took out the key to unlock the door, and walked in. She didn't know that at the moment she walked in, a figure quietly passed by her. She came to the hall and walked all the way to the inner wall. There was a circular pattern on the wall, slightly raised, and there were many small holes in it, which looked like a totem. The girl stood here and watched for a while before finally leaving. And when she left, Naruto appeared with a swoosh. He stood beside the huge wall, looking at the huge pattern on the wall and the outline of what looked like a door, slightly dazed. What the hell is this? Naruto could clearly feel the unusual aura coming from here, which seemed to be mixed with an incomparably powerful magic. He gently stretched out his hand and moved a trace of magic power into his hand. As soon as he touched it, his face was suddenly shocked, and a powerful suction force came from it, which was absorbing the crazy forehead of his own magic power. Naruto was startled, and he quickly pulled his arm back. Unexpectedly, the door outside suddenly opened, and an anxious and crisp voice sounded, "Who are you?" Naruto looked back and saw that it was the delicate girl from before. Unexpectedly, she did not leave. Damn, it's all because of this strange thing in front of me that interferes with my perception. However, he did not panic. For him, he had experienced no matter how big the scene was. It was just a pediatric case. Besides, the things on the wall were just curious to him, it looked more like a treasure. Strangely, this treasure seems to be able to absorb its own magic. "Who are you?" Naruto instead asked with a smile. Girl frowned slightly. "I asked who you are, why did you break into my palace?" However, Naruto did not answer. The girl seemed to be very relieved to leave just now, but she didn't expect that she would just wait outside secretly and let herself show herself, and the scheming was not bad. "HMPH, intruder, this is the palace, how dare you be so arrogant? Answer my question quickly, or I will have someone arrest you." The girl snorted coldly. Naruto sneered. "Even if I answer, you will let me be arrested, right?" A look of surprise flashed across the girl's face. "You're not stupid." The next moment, she stretched out her hand and just wanted to call someone in, but she suddenly noticed that her body was slightly tight, and she couldn't move. The girl was shocked. However, she soon loosened slightly and regained her mobility. A burst of light flashed from the wall behind Naruto, and a huge suction force absorbed his magic power. "Someone, come on." The girl regained her mobility, and immediately shouted, with a smug look on her face. No matter if any magician uses magic near here, the magic power will be absorbed by the treasure on the wall, so she is not worried at all. However, Naruto was able to cast impenetrable magic here. His magical attainments are really shocking, because ordinary magicians, even standing here, exude a little bit of magic will be absorbed as much as possible. Can't release magic at all. 918. Hijacking the princess. Naruto frowned slightly, and in the next instant, he suddenly flew over, and in almost a second, he appeared behind the girl, and then stretched out his hand to put her in his arms, pressing tightly with one hand. "Keep her mouth shut." "Offended, although you don't say who you are. If you call everyone else, I'll be in a bit of trouble." Naruto stopped her in an instant and whispered in her ear. "Well, woohoo." The girl showed fear. "What happened to this guy? I didn't even have time to react at all, so I was restrained by him. How could an ordinary magician have such speed and power? His arms are like iron clamps, and he can't break free no matter what." "Oops, that's really careless. I thought it was absolutely safe in this palace, especially in this room. Even if the magician of the Holy Ten came here, he had to submit obediently, but this guy just rushed behind him at the speed of his body." Just when she was terrified, there were bursts of hurried footsteps around her. There was a look of joy on the girl's face, but the next moment, Naruto's figure flashed and suddenly disappeared from the room. "Princess, what's the matter with the princess?" A group of knights in armor rushed in, but saw that the room was empty and no one was there. A knight captain scratched his head and muttered, "Strange, I heard the princess's voice just now. Could it be an illusion? Everyone, look for me carefully." At this time, Naruto appeared in the woods outside the city with the girl. Before that, he had already set spatial coordinates here, so when he heard someone coming in the palace, he immediately activated the Hiraishin technique and came here. Today, Naruto's strength has long been able to use time and space ninjutsu, although in that room, the magic is limited by that strange thing, but, like the instant hair technique, he is still unaffected. Letting go of the girl, Naruto looked at her carefully. The girl's face was full of shock and fear. "You, who the hell are you? Why do you have this method? Was that just teleportation?" The girl stepped back step by step, only feeling that she was in the hands of such a strong man. There is absolutely no chance to escape. Seeing her frightened look, Naruto smiled apologetically. "I'm sorry, I was undoubtedly taking the liberty. I was just curious about what was on the wall. Can you tell me? If you tell me about it, I will all take you back to the palace." As soon as the girl heard her kind words, the fear in her heart decreased slightly, but when she heard that he was very interested in that thing, her heart sank. That is the key to his plan. How could he be known by such an inexplicable guy? And that is related to the survival of the world. Even if she is killed, she will not say the slightest. "I don't know." The girl suddenly raised her head and said firmly. "Do you think I'll believe it?" The smile on Naruto's face remained unchanged. "Girl bit Kiba. Even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you." Naruto frowned, secretly thinking in his heart, the door that can absorb people's magic power is definitely not simple, and it is definitely not an ordinary thing to forcefully absorb even his own magic power. However, this is a treasure in the palace, and from the performance of this girl, it is definitely very important. "Well, since you don't say anything, I won't force you to go back." Naruto turned around and told her to leave. "Really? You actually let me go like this?" The girl was surprised. This guy doesn't look like a bad person, otherwise, he would definitely force himself, right? How strange. He made it look like he was a big bad guy, and then he let him go in such a light-hearted way. An inexplicable light flashed in the girl's eyes, and she nodded. Well, since you let me go, you can't go back. Let's go, Naruto said lightly. The girl leaves quickly. Naruto turned around and looked in the direction she was leaving, a mysterious smile on his face. That night, in the bedroom, the girl is reprimanding her subordinate group of knights. In these few days, you must protect that place. Don't let any slack, you know. Yes, Emerald Princess. Your subordinates will do as they please. The knight captain responded loudly. It turns out that the girl is the princess of the kingdom. Okay, then you can go right away. Princess Emerald nodded. After the knight captain left, a middle-aged man in a gorgeous robe came over. He looked at the girl and asked with concern. Jade, I have asked the knight captain to search the whole city. You just stay by yourself these few days. In the palace, don't go anywhere, you know. Father, it's useless, we can't guard against that person. Jade shook her head and sighed. Fortunately, he didn't mean to hurt me, otherwise I would never be standing here. This middle-aged man is the king of this country. HMPH, I've already had the people of the Knights of the Bad Wolf set up defenses all around. If that guy dares to come, he will definitely die. The middle-aged man said angrily, although this guy didn't hurt you, the authority of the royal family has been offended, and this must not be the case. Princess Emerald's eyes flickered, and she didn't know what she was thinking. At this moment, a tall man in armor walked in, saw the princess and the king, knelt down on one knee and reported, My lord, the princess, my subordinates searched the whole city, but there was no one. News. Then why are you here to report? Keep looking, the king said angrily. My lord, calm down, because we don't have to look for it anymore. According to the information and portraits provided by the princess, we have initially determined the identity of that person. Oh, who is that guy? Emerald Princess hurriedly asked. It's Uzumaki Naruto of Fairy Tail. A man known as one of the Holy Ten. The strongest wizard in Fairy Tail. The knight leader took out a document and handed it to the king. The king and the Emerald Princess checked at once. The elite members of Fairy Tail once defeated Gerald's Paradise Tower, made great contributions, and were named the Holy Ten Magi by the council. They are highly praised in the guild and are also very popular in the magic world, but he disappeared in the Sirius Island incident 7 years ago, and was gradually forgotten by people, and now he shows up with the other main members of Fairy Tail. The strength is unknown. 919. Participate in the Eclipse Project. It turned out to be the Wizard of Fairy Tail. That Uzumaki Naruto, the king murmured. This is a powerful guy. And he is actually one of the 10. There was some seriousness in his tone. After all, the existence of the Holy 10, no matter where it is, the kingdom, represents the detachment and independence of status, and even the king cannot neglect such a strong man. However, Naruto actually offended his daughter, which made the king tangled for a while. Although the daughter was not injured and Naruto had no ill intentions, it was always uncomfortable for her daughter to be targeted. Seeing her father's frowning and contemplative appearance, Princess Emerald smiled slightly. Father, don't worry, since we already know his identity, I think he won't mess around, and I think he is very interested in that thing. Will this matter be handled by me? Well, to you. The king glanced at his daughter with a worried look on his face. However, this daughter has been well-behaved and sensible since she was a child, and she is also very smart. Sometimes she can help herself handle the affairs of the kingdom, and she has shown great ability since she was a child. Then you have to be careful, Emerald. I will let the Knights of the Wolf and Arca protect you in the past few days. You can arrange whatever you want. The king left here after saying that. Princess Emerald nodded slightly and watched her father leave. She looked down and saw the material about Naruto in her hand, and the corner of her mouth couldn't help showing a radian. In the huge room with the door hidden, the Emerald Princess appeared here again, but this time, there were many night guards around to protect her again to ensure her safety. Princess Emerald looked at the group of soldiers around, and then she felt a little bit more secure. She looked at the huge round door on the wall with a solemn look in her eyes. Suddenly, she said to the soldiers around, "You all go down, I want to be here alone for a while." The soldiers hesitated for a while before leaving. At this moment, behind Princess Emerald, a golden light suddenly flashed, and Naruto's figure suddenly appeared here. "Princess Emerald, here I am again. I knew you would come, and I also knew that our arrangements could not be hidden from you. It seems that you are very self-aware," Naruto said with a faint smile. Indeed, the reason why he wanted to let the Emerald Princess go is to let them come back and make arrangements under the condition of deliberately revealing his purpose. And through this series of arrangements, Naruto can see how important the things in this room are. "Ever since I knew you were Uzumaki Naruto, I have known that this matter can't be concealed from you." Princess Jade turned around, looked at him with a slight smile and said, "However, you are really bold, actually dare to enter the palace casually and kidnap my princess. This will be wanted by the entire palace." Hearing this, Naruto smiled lightly. "Didn't you take the initiative to take this matter on you? This means you don't want to pursue me anymore, right? Besides, it looks like you want to ask me for some help." "What a smart guy. Yes, I can tell you everything now, but only if you agree to a request." Princess Emerald looked at him and said seriously, "Okay, as long as it's not something that is difficult for a strong man, I will definitely promise you." Naruto nodded. "Then can you tell me?" Emerald Princess heard the words, and there was a hint of joy on her face. "What? There is such a thing?" Naruto exclaimed. With his knowledge, he couldn't help but be surprised by what Princess Emerald said. According to Emerald Princess, the round door on the wall is indeed a door. And it is a door that can open time and space. Using 12 Protoss keys and enough magic power, you can open the door to this world 400 years ago. The entire Great Demon Fighting Martial Arts was set up to collect the magic power that escaped from the battles of many magicians. After several years of collection, its magic power is almost the same, so this time and space door must be opened this year. Otherwise, the entire world will be destroyed by Jareth and Black Dragon. After Naruto listened to her narration, he finally understood the function of this thing. Simply put, it is a gate of time and space. Go back to the past and kill Jareth and Hyelong, because they were not strong at that time, and they can be killed with everyone's strength now. "I see, I understand, this is indeed a great plan." Naruto nodded and sighed. "However, this plan makes no sense to me. Although I don't understand why the world would be destroyed by Jareth and Hyelong for no reason at that time if the gate of time and space was not opened, but I want to say that if the Black Dragon and Jiraiya were the husband as here, I really can't ask for it." Naruto grinned, with a strong desire to fight on his face. Jareth, the Black Magician, and the Black Dragon who is stronger than him, these two guys must be defeated. At that time, he would not be reconciled when he was defeated in the hands of Hyelong. "You're crazy, those two guys are irresistible existences. Even if you are Holy 10, you can't defeat them, right?" Princess Jade said speechlessly. "Hey," Naruto just smiled and didn't say much. "Okay, you let me know about this Eclipse project, although I expressed interest, but in exchange, you can now make a request," Naruto said again. "Okay," Emerald Princess laughed. "I want you to lend us the key on your body when our plan starts. I know that if you want to take something from a strong person like you, that's 10,000. It was impossible to do so, so I exchanged news of this plan in exchange." Quote. "Well, I promised you, and I can help you if you need anything." Naruto smiled and said, "Your mind is still good. This time my curiosity is a little too much, and it seems to be inexplicable. Into a boring plan." "I don't think this is a boring thing." Princess Emerald laughed angrily and laughed at his arrogant words. "Okay, since that's the case, I'll go back first. I've offended you before. I hope you don't mind, Princess." Naruto waved his hand and disappeared in a flash. Princess Emerald looked at Naruto's disappearing direction, her expression loosened, and she muttered, "I really didn't expect that things are going more and more smoothly." 920. Astral World. After leaving, Naruto directly used the Hiraishin technique to return to the hotel by the sea to rest. He also didn't go to Urza and the others. They were very tired after a day's training, so when he came back, he just lay on the bed and thought about things. This trip, I accidentally let myself know the Eclipse plan, which is the real purpose of the big devil fighting. However, there is no big conspiracy as he imagined, but a matter to save everyone. However, Naruto also had many questions in his heart. He wouldn't believe in the destruction of the world, etc. After coming into contact with deep-level power, Naruto's understanding of the world, time and space, and power has risen to a new level. The so-called destruction of the world is only caused by individuals. The enemies of the Eclipse plan are Giraffe and Black Dragon. These two are considered invincible existences in the hearts of ordinary magicians, but Naruto does not think so. He even wants to defeat them and trample them under his feet. Therefore, even if he knew the truth of the matter, Naruto would not be so nervous. What he had to do was to think beyond Princess Emerald's thinking. For example, after opening the gate of that spacetime, connecting the two spacetimes together will definitely cause some kind of chaos. At that time, how to quell this chaos, or at that moment, whether there will be other outlaws to make trouble, to take the opportunity to achieve a certain purpose, these, as an insider of the plan, Naruto felt that he should think more about it. However, Naruto can't make a conclusion now as to what the situation is. In fact, with Naruto's current strength, he has gradually mastered the method of time travel. The fusion of body and soul allows him to no longer suffer any harm in the turbulent time and space, and the only thing he has to do is to find an exit to other worlds. And now, Naruto has been able to sense the spatial coordinates that he had set in other worlds. Once he is in the turbulent time and space, he will still have an 80% chance to ensure that he can reach those places. Therefore, now he has the power to travel through time and space. However, in this world, he hasn't finished his work. Before defeating Giraffe and Hyalong, he dare not leave this world. After all, he can't guarantee whether he can come back at any time after leaving here. Because in different worlds, the power in the body will be crowded out by the rules of that world. Before there is no absolute power in the world of Master, it is not easy to break the laws of time and space in that world. Of course, if he returned to the world of Hokage, or the world of zombies, he was absolutely confident that he could adapt to the power of that world in a while. However, he had to deal with the things in this world right now. We have to continue looking for Ulu and Angel tomorrow. The next day, before Naruto woke up, he was awakened by several voices. When he opened his eyes, it turned out that it was Urza and the others who were coming to train him, and everyone looked anxious. It's the same today, I'll use the clones to accompany you to train again. After Naruto got up, he immediately separated out several clones to accompany the girls to practice. What, Naruto, you always perfunctorious with your clones? Lucy exclaimed in dissatisfaction. Naruto smiled and said, let's wait until you have defeated my clone. Are you joking? Even your clone is hard to beat. Kana said. Okay, everyone, stop arguing. At this time, Urza came to Naruto, looked at him and said, actually, we are looking for you for something other than cultivation. What's the matter? Naruto was slightly puzzled. Because just now, Lucis Protoss came here to say something very important. Let us take you with us. Urza explained. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared from the position between Urza and Naruto. Naruto-sama, do you need to train me? Virgo, a cute maid with short pink hair, suddenly appeared. Naruto said with a blank expression as he watched her straighten out her plump breasts. Hey, how can you say that? Lucy hurriedly pressed her down and said, it's like this, the astral world has encountered a great crisis of life and death, so let's go and help save it. When Naruto heard it, he couldn't help but be taken aback. Why didn't Loki tell me about this kind of thing? Naruto took out his key and asked strangely. Speaking of which, before Naruto's body was blasted into the turbulent time and space by the Black Dragon, his key had been left on Sirius Island, and it was not picked up again from there until 7 years later. I think we'd better go ahead and talk about it before it's too late, Mirage suggested. Although Naruto felt that the incident was sudden, he also knew the seriousness of it, nodded and agreed. Afterwards, Baruge painted the magic circle for everyone, and asked everyone to change into the clothes of the Protoss world, and then they traveled to the Protoss world. Naruto also came to this world for the first time. After everyone flashed a strong ray of light in the magic circle on the beach, the scene unfolded in front of them immediately made people amazed. Wow, so beautiful, Wendy exclaimed. Others were the same, deeply attracted by the sight in front of them. Naruto only felt that his eyes were bright, and there was a small planet under his feet. The dark sky was full of small planets, and the planet was surrounded by various colorful things. On the ground, in the air, there are glowing Protoss everywhere. All the celestial beings of the zodiac are here. My old friends, welcome you to the celestial spirit world. A huge figure appeared in front of everyone. It's the king of star spirits, Lucy exclaimed. Naruto turned his head and looked around, and found that the magic power of this celestial world was very rich, several times more intense than that of Aslan's continent. It's just that the surroundings seem to be very calm. Where is the crisis? Hey, everyone is welcome. The celestial spirits swarmed over and surrounded everyone with a smile on their faces. How could they be serious when facing life and death? I said, Star Spirit King, what about the crisis? Urza asked with a puzzled look.